to the Power of One. Today I have two dynamic Christian folks, and we're going to have a real conversation about some things that are taking place in the world, things that are taking place in the church, where we need to have that ugly conversation to be able to help those in need. I'm going to be speaking with Elder Ferguson, and I'm going to be speaking with Maurine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure for us to be here.
Elder Ferguson, we're going to begin with you. Please tell me a little bit about your radio show and how you became the host of FAVVOR Zone.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Neville Ferguson. I'm Elder Ferguson, affectionately known by the people who come very close to me. About 5.5 years ago, I was calling radio and I was encouraging people to host on the radio. So I called just about all of them because I do have the gift of encouragement. So I was utilizing that, calling all these people. And then one day the Lord just struck me and said, you could do something like this. And then I touched base with one of the CEOs of the radio station, Brother CJ, and he said, yes, of course. But the only slot that I have is from 12 midnight till 3 in the morning. And I was like, okay. And I went on. Sometimes I get off the air at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would hand it over to him, and then I would be on my way to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I got a lot of training during those late morning hours or early morning hours. I got a lot of training. It was a lot of praise and worship. I think because of the time of the day, and that's where my segment, my program would have taken me. So that is basically the way I got started on radio, by encouraging others to do what they do. And then I do believe that the Lord would see it fit. If you are able to encourage people, you were a Marine Corps recruiter selling the Marine Corps for 3 years. So I would think that you can sell the gospel. In other words, selling the gospel means that convincing someone to believe in what I believe. That is what I do mean by selling the gospel. So here I am today, 5.5 years after, still selling the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Okay. Now, those hours, did you have guests on your show during those hours?
Not many, and I did not have a lot of callers either. Maybe two callers for the night was a lot because of the time of the day. And I would say that is majority, 90% of the elders that listen to the program that time of the morning. So I was very sensitive to how I encourage them to come out. I would encourage them to go to bed.
Okay. So I take it your time shift moved, and you now have a new time. So tell me about this Christian radio show that you have. Do you speak about those unpleasant topics? Do you have those ugly conversations that some pastors or Christian folk may not want to have?
I do. And I thank God for the spirit that he has given me that has, it is intertwined with some humor. I do not take my subject matters very light. I take them very serious. But I think one of the things that the audience that's listening to me know is that I can move from being serious into being jovial, just like that. So I think the balance allow me to be able to welcome the difficult subject matters, and I'm able to be very candid and transparent with them. It's amazing how God does not make us as robots. He makes us as individual. And he says that the eye doesn't do what the eye does. The ear does not do what the mouth does. If we all work in our lane and in our assignment, we're going to be one big body, but many different members. So me as a member now in the body of Christ, I have to know my assignment, and my assignment may differ from others. But once I come into grips now to know what my assignment is, I just pray God to give me the wisdom how to deliver the hard subject matters that most people may not be comfortable dealing with.
Domestic violence and sexual abuse major issues. And I know they go on in the lives of many, which is unfortunate. There are some churches that may not speak about these issues, but I commend the ones who do. Are these two important topics that you speak about?
They are. And another thing that I notice about myself is that a lot of subject matters I have experienced in my life. And without having to go into detail on my program, I'm able to speak on the subject matters and be candid and transparent. So another person could listen and say, well, if God does this for him and he's here with us, still being jovial, he's not locked down, suppressed, oppressed, or depressed, then the Lord should be able to do that for me too. Because, sometimes we read a book, sometimes we do the theory, but people have to hear the practicality of these things that we are sharing. So he has made me bold enough to be able to come out and to share on most of these subject matters and try. And I'm very sensitive to the subject matters, because there are times when you're speaking about them and there's somebody sitting right there who has gone through it. So here comes now where the sensitivity has to play a part. And people love to know that somebody else went through what they're going through or is going through what they're going through.
Elder Ferguson, my father's a pastor. My father, Reverend Dr. John L. Payne, he's a pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. Raised in the church, and we, I think, have to understand and truly believe that faith without works is dead, as you know. Mm-hmm. Do you provide resources for those who may have gone through domestic violence, sexual abuse, or any other kind of violence, crime? Because we have to not only pray, but we have to provide resources also.
I do. And most of all, if we do not have the facility, we do give the resources and outreach, telephone numbers for someone to call. And if we do know that person that's going through, I would definitely reach out to them. Especially trafficking. You have the child trafficking, and not only children, but also adults who have been trafficked for different situations, why they are being used as trafficking objects. And we would give out the information of where you can reach out for help if you do need help in any of these situations. So the resources are there, and as we started this like about 3 months ago, I believe. So as we go forward, I would think that the Lord is going to supply the resources, since it's a passion and he calls for it, and whatever he calls for, he provides for. So I do believe that there are some resources coming up to further help us in accomplishing what we set out to do.
Okay. Maurine, I know that you have been a guest on the FAVVOR Zone quite a few times. Please tell me how you connected with Elder Ferguson, and you're also an author, correct?
Yes, I am. And yes, thank you so much. I just want to say it's such an honor to be here with you. And I will and have tuned into your program, and it's just well done. So my name is Maurine McFarlane, and yes, I'm an author. I met Elder Ferguson last year. We were doing a Christmas virtual concert, Songs of Hope, to benefit the people of Haiti, and also some of the artists that performed for that concert. In addition to being an author, I'm also an owner of a local record label here in Philadelphia called Clouds Records. And Elder happens to be one of the people on the Truth of Gospel network. And so I listened to his show, which is so intriguing. As a Christian radio, he's bold to talk about the subject matters that, as you said, many churches do not talk about, but needs to. And so I called in his show one day, and And as God has it, the conversation lead to one thing to another. And so we talk about what can we bring, especially to the community that he represents. Now, his radio station, of course, is a national radio station, but majority of his listeners, and you can correct me, elders, are from the Caribbean, London, Africa, but I would think not just all African American or Black or Caribbean, but that's majority, I believe, is the audience. And in this particular culture, we have grown up to hush hush, don't talk about the most horrible things, right? We have been taught to suppress things that we have been through, whether that be child molestation, which happen quite rapidly in our community, but no one ever talk about it. Therefore, not too many people are getting help. And so we start discussing about some topic that we should talk about. And he agreed. And, I did my research, but in terms of the topic of child abuse, I've also been a victim of that as well. So I come from some experience there as well. And we tap into child trafficking. And now we're also presenting domestic abuse. And one of the awesome thing about it as well is once we began this conversation, we have people that are expertise in this area that has come on the show to talk about not only their experience, but also what they're doing in terms of resources to help that community. Some of them are advocate, because of what they've been through. And that's one of the reasons why also I reach out to you, Ms. Nelson, because I know when it comes to these issues, you're an expertise, you deal with individuals such as this. So this mattered to us because we want to bring a greater awareness. We want these women and men to know that they don't have to be afraid. It's time, to hang up the shame that you've been dealing with and get help. And so I'm very proud of him that, he take this initiative and he's making a difference. And, God has been good. God has been very, very good. The way he has positioned the show to extend beyond just the word, because God's word is supposed to bring forth healing. And the church is supposed to be a place of healing. And yet so many people within the church are suffering silently. So he's bringing this to these people so they can then, do something about it. And we're helping in that process, of course.
I will encourage both of you to continue to grow and continue to get those resources, because nothing saddens me more when I receive a call from a domestic violence victim, whether it's male or female, and they're living with the abuser and the shelters are full. They don't have any money to leave. So they're forced to stay in that situation longer. So we have to do better as far as finding money to be able to put domestic violence victims up, whether it's in hotels, to be able to help relocate them immediately. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that hurts my heart when they call and there's no immediate help available for them. So Maurine, tell me about the Friday segment that you are a part of with Elder Ferguson.
Yes, and basically our Friday segment that's what we use that time to do, to bring attention, to bring information for those that are suffering, how they can get help, but also to encourage them to be bold and not be afraid and understand that, part of our strength is being vulnerable to come out and says, I'm in trouble and I need help. But also to encourage other pastors, no matter how large or small your church is. I know there's different. If you're a smaller church, you may not have the resource, but I think everyone can do something, right? And also be open to listen to your member and not make judgment. Because in the church, they have these different myths that one of them, which we talked about last week, would be, domestic that does happen in Christian home, which we know is not true, right? Or maybe the woman needs to submit more to her husband, right? which we also, that's not true, and so many misinformation and myth that allow people not to take this issue as seriously as they should. So for the churches that can provide help, they should. There are many churches that are very active in the community, but this is one area which I think they're lacking. And I don't know if it's because it takes such a courage to confront an abuser that may be a member of your church, or even to separate that person from their home if your life is in danger. But I think this is an issue that the church needs to take on boldly. And, the same way we raise money for different concerns within the community, they also need to raise money where they can have facility to secure the women or their children while they need help. All the necessary thing that helps somebody to move out of a dangerous situation, the church should be able to do. And so the more we talk about it in the media, whether it's on a Christian radio or your show or any platform, then I would say those that are listening need to find out how they can help. Call your church. How can we start a ministry that advocate for women that are being abused, or men, but we know that 85% of victims are women and their children, and how we can provide safe haven for them. Sometimes we have to help them retrain into job opportunities. We have to help them get therapy, just be able to transform their mind from being a batterer to somebody now who we can raise your self-esteem. And the courage to know that they can survive without their abuser.
Elder Ferguson, please tell us how they can tune into your radio show.
Okay, to tune into the Favor Zone, we spell favor with 2 V's. The extra V is for your victory. So you would type in www.favor, and please spell favor with 2 V's, FAVVOR, FavorZoneRadio.com. Once you type that in, it's going to take you straight to my website where you can watch it live, or you can tune in if you are in the New York area, Bronx, New York, and its surrounding areas, 105.3 FM, that's TOG Radio, Truth of Gospel, or 97.3, that's Unity with Love with Apostle Michael Paul Bennett, and Truth of Gospel is Dr. Neville and Dr. Lilith Morgan. Now, on the World Wide Web, that's where the Favor Zone is. You can always type in FavorZoneRadio.com, and you'll be linked into the Favor Zone website where you can watch it live, and also on Facebook and YouTube. And it's also Favor Zone on YouTube and on Facebook, Neville Ferguson.
Okay. Maurine, did I miss you tell me briefly the name of your book and about your book and how people can purchase your book?
Oh, yes. In fact, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's probably hard to see because of the lighting, but it's called Fighting for My Destiny, How I Learned to Pray to Get What I Need. And this book really came about, I was in a crossroad of my faith. I was going through some very challenging time in my life about, say, 11 years ago, and it questioned my faith. And in fact, I just thought, this is not real. I was ready to walk away, very frustrated, with God, because I prayed and believed for something that matters to me so much, and it didn't happen. I was beside myself, and like as God will do, let me have my moment. And what's so unique about this, though, is that's when I discover, like many people, we tend to create God in our own image, based on our own biases, right? And not who he really is. And I believe that I'm someone that God is called to do great things. And I believe that he was trying to mature my relationship in a way that I see him as God. So God did his thing of renewing my mind and my relationship with him. And he take me through these different steps. And and some things I was just like, but I know what fate is. I know what solitude is. But it took me through this whole journey with him. And that's how this book has given birth. In addition to that, at each of the end of the chapters, the Lord instructed me to write a prayer at each of the end of the chapter, which I did. And so when the book was completed, I went further to create a CD with the prayer, and it's called Fighting for My Destiny Meditation Music. And you can find both the book and the CD on Amazon or any bookstore. You can order it. If you look around our society today, you see this in the world, people that are Christian, and the things that are going on in the world. And you said, how can you be a follower of Christ and believe what you believe and act the way you're acting and treat people the way you're treated? And I've come to realize, because they have created God in their own image, to satisfy their own prejudice, their own biases, and whatever position they want to take.
I want to thank both of you for joining me today. Again, continue the great work that you're doing. Anything that I can do to help. This is a journey where the fight is just beginning, because we have a lot of work to do to be able to help those in need, because a financial need is great for those domestic violence victims and those sexual assault victims and victims as a whole. So again, I thank you so much for all the work that you are doing. Continue your fight, and thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much for joining me today. There are so many people who are suffering with domestic violence. So many people who have suffered a sexual assault or sexual abuse. Know there are resources out here available for you. There is help out here available for you. And when you are willing to tell your story, no judgment, we encourage you to do so that you can help someone else who's going through a horrible ordeal. Thank you so much for joining me today. Peace and blessings.